Should be a fairly short stream tonight. I will basically just be finishing up Ash's G36C from Rainbow Six Siege. The extent of finishing up the G36 is basically just doing the 3-stud wide upper carry handle. I was gonna say, I kept wanting to say handguard for some reason, but it's not a carry, or it's not a handguard. It's a carry handle and rail mount on the G36C. On different models of the G36 line of family rifles, it's actually an integrated red dot sight with carry handle plus iron sights. I know the MG36 and then the G36K is like this, so it's a little, certain models it's certain things, other models it's not. This is the model obviously with just the really lowered carry handle, because it doesn't have the integrated red dot in it. It doesn't jack that carry handle way up. And this one also has the rail system on it as well, so that you can put different sights on it that you would prefer. So we're going to wait till about the minute mark, which is why we're sitting at this screen, and then we'll continue on with stream and finishing this up. Like I said, this should be a fairly simple, short, sweet stream. So tonight's drink sponsor is from Publix. This is Mountain Splash. I made sure I wasn't going to say the Walmart brand, which I think is Mountain Lightning, I think. This is basically just a cheaper knockoff Mountain Dew. It tastes almost exactly the same. Publix, for those of you who don't know, is kind of a southern type of thing. I believe they have them up to Georgia and Alabama, but it's more or less just a southern produce store slash, kind of think of Walmart almost. For those of you who live just a little bit further north, you might actually have a store known as Piggly Wiggly. I believe that's the store that you guys might have. That is basically the equivalent of Publix. There's all sorts of different exclusive stores around the country that are only in certain states or certain spots. So yeah, basically now we're just going to be upping all of this to the 3 studs that I want it to be, so that it matches the rest of the rail systems. It should be a fairly simple process that should take us all of, basically, I want to say just under like 30 minutes. It honestly should not take any longer than that. Hey Nate, why? No, you live in places, so it's still relatively early over where you are. It's just about, well, it's 1 in the morning for me, so it should be like 12, 11, 10, 9 maybe for you. Not entirely sure on this one. So now it's just a little scary to 10. All right. I was off by an hour. For some reason, I thought Cali was 4 hours behind, not just 3. I wasn't going to name the state that you lived in. I knew you lived in Cali. I just wasn't going to go there because of courtesy or whatever you want to say. Wow, that's not what I needed to happen. Today in general has just been not exactly the best of days. Basically this morning, there's a pretty good stream today. My aunt and grandmother got into a car accident just right down the road. They're not seriously hurt or anything like that, but it could have been obviously a lot worse. It's not exactly something that's comforting news to wake up to. On top of that, this weekend in general just hasn't been that good of a weekend. Saturday, I got up around, man, I was sleeping in quite a bit. I want to say I got up around like 11 maybe, 11 at the earliest. No problem, mate. And I went outside to basically clean the car that I have, because you know I have a 2010 Ford Fusion, and it's kind of my job to keep care of it. As with all responsibilities in life, you're supposed to be the one who takes care of it. Well, I've been kind of neglecting to go out and vacuum it. I wash it every once in a while, but I never vacuum, and vacuuming is slightly important when you need the car to look clean and presentable when someone else gets inside of it. So I was doing that, and I basically had just finished doing that when my dad called me, and it was kind of weird because my dad's literally right inside the house. So it means something was going on that probably wasn't good. So I answered, and he asked where I was, told him where I was. He said, okay, well, I need your help with Tipper, who's my dog, or well, our dog. So I said, okay, I'll be right inside. So I dropped everything I was doing, a pixel, and I walked back inside to see what exactly was going on. It turns out my dog had 2 really bad seizures in the morning hours, basically, and it was so worrying and so bad that my dad wanted to go seek medical attention for Tipper, because that's how like bad and extreme these seizures were. So that's not good. That sucks. That sucks a lot. So we had to look up a emergency hospital that was somewhere nearby. It turns out there's one that's 15 minutes away. We drove over there as fast as we could. He got in. We were essentially, when we got there was almost no one there. And then it kind of got a little weird because, hey, Brickworks, wow, all the big peeps are here. Yeah. We were like one of the first ones there. The receptionist had us into a waiting room, and then a vet assistant came in and did an initial look at him. We explained what was going on. He had 2 really bad seizures, one of which he pushed himself off of one wall because he was in the corner. Where he sleeps is in the corner of my dad's bed. My dad has a king-size bed, so my dog gets one half, he gets the other half. He pushed himself from this corner so hard that he slammed into the wall over in this corner. And once his seizure was done, he really wasn't moving all too much. He just kind of sat there and was like looking at my dad, like, "Hi, I'm here," but it was in a way that my dad described as not really being all there. He wasn't, I don't want to say like fully cognizant, but you know how you have something like really bad happen to you and you just kind of sit there after a while and you're like, wow, that really just happened. That's basically how that was going on. Hey, don't worry about any of the jokes, by the way, guys. Like, it's not that. I don't want to say like not that serious, but I don't think you guys have to really worry about offending me or anything. The vet assistant was actually pretty decent. It was obvious that he was the assistant though, because his answering skills were a little out of practice, I guess is a good word. A little lackluster. So basically, our dog has always had problems with seizures before, but it was always basically what we attributed to being his food brain, because for those of you who don't know, certain foods can trigger allergic reactions in dogs that will make them have seizures. So we had switched the food brand over to Blue Buffalo, which is one of the more expensive food brands, and that solved the seizure problem, essentially, almost outright, almost. Every once in a while he'd get like a head jitter, he'll just kind of sit there and do that for a little bit, but it had basically almost been solved. So it turns out that if a dog has that type of problem at a young age, there's actually a good possibility that they could be epileptic. And if he was having seizures now, it could be attributed to the epilepsy. So there was basically a good news in all of this, because basically the only thing that it could be, if it's not epilepsy, would be a tumor growing somewhere that would be affecting his nervous system in a way that would make him have seizures. Only have guinea pigs. Can't imagine having complications with a dog. Dogs are the dream pets. A cat, unless you feed them grapes like out done from it. Yeah, so I see where you guys are coming from, and I can agree with it almost 100%. It was something that I had to accept when we first got him, that there was going to be a point in time in my life where we're going to have to put him down, and that's a little difficult thing to deal with, because it's not something that you really want to think about all too much, because that's something that I had to think about while we were driving over there. I mean, what if this is the time that I don't get to take him home with me? I have to put him down, because he might be suffering. The road that he's leading down could be a very serious one that we don't want him to go down, so we're just going to end it quick before he gets that road, so that he could just live out his life as a happy dog up to the very end. Things like that. It could get very serious very quick when you start talking about and discussing these types of things. So basically, after the vet assistant got done with us, the actual vet came in, and she's actually she was a pretty fantastic vet. Okay, so this is up, down, up, down, up, down. She was not from this country. She was from another country, either an Indian country or an Middle Eastern country. She had the traditional headdress of someone from India, I'd go to say. She was pretty knowledgeable in this field. She basically, how'd I do the front sight? And if you're asking how I did it in LDD, then you have to build up a tower here with the rim attached, and then just delete out the tower and everything. And then basically how this works is that on top of it is this bar right here, and then on the this bar is going to be holding the top of this, and then this wheel is sitting in between these two walls right here. So you can see like this wall would hold it here and this wall would hold it here, but this bar is holding it there. So that's how the front sight's done. She was pretty knowledgeable. She went down the whole list with us about what she was going to do. She was going to take blood work. If there was a tumor somewhere that was affecting blood glucose levels, it would show up in the blood work, blood glucose. So she went ahead and was working on that. And then the unfortunate part is someone came in after us with a cat that had called in around the time that we did. And the cat was also having seizures. But the cat had one as the woman was like checking in with the receptionist. And it really upset that woman because she kind of understood at that point like this was a serious ordeal type situation. And then it basically, we'll talk about the G36 after this story. The cat was kind of far gone in the process and was a little old, so they ended up putting the cat down. And the walls are really thin in this place, so you could really hear her. She was very upset about putting her cat down. You could tell that she was very emotionally attached to her cat. And I've also had to put a cat down because my cat had feline AIDS, and we couldn't afford the medicine to heal feline AIDS. So the cheaper option would be, instead of letting the cat suffer with feline AIDS for the rest of her life, which she could die from feline AIDS, we decided to put her down. And that was a very hard thing to do. So hearing this person cry was a very difficult thing to deal with. On top of, we had a dog there who was having seizures, so you kind of have to start wondering like, oh well, is that going to be us in a couple minutes? Are they going to come back with bad news that we have to put our dog down or something like that? So that was a little difficult to deal with. There was nothing that came back in the blood work. Basically everything in the blood work was good. It looked good to her. Everything was normal, which is kind of not the result that I was looking for, because that basically means if there is in fact a tumor growing somewhere within our dog, it's going to be in the brain. And that's the one spot that they didn't x-ray. I actually have the x-rays. That'll be interesting to look at on stream one time if I can get them onto the computer. They came on a CD. It's kind of weird. It's hard to think, you know, that if there's a tumor growing inside of him, it's inside of his head and it's affecting his brain, and that's a major ordeal. That getting inside someone's head, or even in animals at this point, is a lot more serious and difficult than opening up like a stomach or something like that. So basically at the end of the day, our dog's home. He's okay. He hasn't had another seizure since then, but it's only been a day. We've started him on an anti-seizure medication. It's called Pt.3. It's the same medication that we use in humans, actually. So it's a little both and both. I didn't know that humans use it as well, but they do. So yeah. Did a good job. Ha, good pun. My girlfriend likes puns, so if she was here, she would appreciate that, but she's not here. I don't know what she's doing. Oh, I picked up my phone to answer the text that she sent me. She is here. It's possible in LED, but it's not connected to the rest of the model, so if you use the connected selection tool, it's just there. So the only way to move it would be using a slide selection kind of like this, or using a group selection. So you got to be a little bit more proficient with LED and its tools and its little mannerisms to be able to do something like that and not get frustrated over it, because if you didn't know about slide selection or group tools, then you would have to keep putting it back in with the rim and things like that to move it around and stuff. Animal passing is a very difficult thing. I couldn't even be in the room when we had to put the cat down. I didn't even want to see her after we put her down. They put her in a box, and then we buried her in the box, obviously, but I didn't even open the box before we buried her. I just straight up buried her. I'm flushing a fish down the toilet. I can feel I could feel some of that emotion because, you know, fish are a lot more laid back and you can't have as much fun with them as dogs and things like that, but they're still there with you in your time of crisis. We don't have pun wars so much as we just kind of like she'll say something and then I'll say something and then she just kind of like destroys me. So that was Saturday. That was like the only bad news for Saturday. And then this morning I woke up to the news that my grandmother and my aunt had been in a crash right down the road. It wasn't that bad. There was actually a cop right behind them when they got into the accident, so he was actually able to watch the guy blow through the stop sign who ended up crashing into him. So that's interesting to be able to note. Just be like, yeah, there was a cop right behind us. You can't even try to fly your way out of that at that point. Like, that's a straight up blatant your fault accident. The van that they were in was totaled, unfortunately. Hey, Rock Game TV. So that won't be along or around anymore. It's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense that they've needed a new vehicle for a while now. The bad thing about it is I don't think this is the best of way for them to justify getting a new vehicle. And the new vehicle that they choose is probably just going to be another van, right? Getting another van isn't a bad thing, but there's other vehicles out there that I think they would benefit from a lot more than the van. The whole reason that they got the van in the first place was basically because they went camping a whole bunch, and it's a lot easier to travel across states with a smaller vehicle than what it is a large camper. It's also a lot more fuel efficient. So they got a camping van which has plenty of room for 2 people. They stripped down everything out of it and then basically built it around themselves and their needs. So a mini fridge, a place for a air conditioning unit. The back seat is a bench seat that folds down using an electric switch into a bed for you to sleep on. And then that's what they used. Well, they don't really go traveling all too much anymore. And when they do, they use my dad's Excursion instead of the van. On top of that, the only reason they ever use the van now is for interesting. Going to shows because they run their own business, jewelry business, and they have all their jewelry and tents and their chairs, the fan that they use, the batteries and stuff like that in the back of the van because it has plenty of storage space. It's all enclosed in case it's raining, so none of their materials gets wet like it would in a truck. And you're not pulling a trailer, so it's much easier to transport than a trailer would be. So, oh my gosh, these placements. I doubt that they're going to get anything other than a van next. If they even choose to, yeah, I love the bow slopes. If they even choose to get a new car, because there might not be a need for them to get a new one, to be completely honest. That would be less of a burden on them. They already had technically paid off the van that they were driving, so I don't know if they'll get a new one or not, to be completely honest. Let's just replace this. There's honestly no reason for this. I think this is probably one of the best guns that I've built thus far. And the funny thing is, I didn't go back and build it from scratch either. I just took the older G36 body that I had and applied new techniques to it. So I think that's slightly interesting. We are literally right on time in terms of time frame that I thought we would have. I said it would take us about 30 minutes, and it's taken us about 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and grab this. This is the bow down and bow and arrow are spelled the same. Am I pronouncing one of them incorrectly? Or are they both pronounced bow? So both of them are not pronounced the same. Your brain has to make a connection between words around it to determine how it's pronounced. So when you're reading something, sometimes your eyes will go ahead of what you're speaking. When you do that, if you're reading aloud, you should be looking for things like these small little inconsistencies that you need to pick up on before you start speaking it so that you pronounce it correctly. So bow down is spelled the same as bow and arrow, but it's not pronounced the same. Just like bow on a ship is spelled the same as bow down, but there's different meaning to it, because the bow of a ship is the front of the ship, whereas bowing down, you're not a bow of a ship when you're bowing down, you're bowing down. Semantics is kind of like the meaning of words in a sense. A good way to think about semantics is if you're in an argument with someone and they use something along the lines of, I never specifically said that, what I said was this. So if you're in an argument with, say, like Keemstar, and he says, well, I never told you to go kill yourself. All I did was point out all your flaws as a human being and then never said anything encouraging about you. No offense, Keemstar, hypothetical situation, you would never do something like that. That would be semantics at that point. It was heavily implied that you should go kill yourself, but he never specifically said that, so that's a war of semantics. Context is important in pretty much everything. I was doing something. I was going to import Bakker's FN57. So what we're going to do, I guess we really can't. Hypothetical, but yeah, honestly, wouldn't put it past Keemstar to say something like that. So, oh, Pixel asked something about the charging handle. Where be it? I want to see the charging handle and if it would snap back from the side. So no. This charging handle is my own design. It uses the turntable piece right here. And then you just take in, it would slip past everything like it should. So it can go this direction or this direction, but it would not snap back into place like it should. And the snap back in place method, I would have to, I can do. The way that I would do it would just be using newer pieces from the Technic line, because I've seen it done before, and obviously you can do it. I just haven't gone back and done this, and I don't feel like doing it now. Actually, believe it or not, I actually kind of like the idea of it kind of wiggling around loose on its own as if it was broken or something like that. It's been through quite a few battles, if you would. So file, save as. Let me check something really quick. Drive.google.com, Lego items, Lego creations. I need to look up how I labeled this type of stuff. Where is that? All right, so this is ashes loadout G36C Bocker FN57. I forgot something before the quotations. Bracket Rainbow Six Siege in bracket. Desktop save. Yes, it depends. I think how I would do it nowadays would actually be using a hollow method, but still able to do two. Shit. Basically, I would delete out U and U along with U, like so, and I would replace it with yeah, this one. Facing this direction downward. I need to delete out another one. Just delete this one out. This direction downward. And I would do that for here and over on the other side, and that would form like a hollow cavity that I could use for the rubber band. So that's how I would do it nowadays, but it's, you know, just how it is. I just felt like finishing up this loadout because it was actually looking really, really good. In terms of the G36, like I said, this is probably one of the best Rainbow Six Siege weapons that I've ever built. On top of that, I have probably the best FN57 that I've ever seen before, provided to me by aspiring artists. The actual FN57 was built by Bocker, who's not in chat. I got Brick Built, Nate Dogg, Pixel Bricks, but I don't have Bocker. I figured Bocker would be. He's probably asleep doing something. See you later, Nate. I'm done building for the night, but I appreciate it. Have a good night yourself. I'm going to go ahead and render this. We're going to make a new folder. Z ashes loadout bracket Rainbow Six Siege bracket create. Enter to you. Drag this on over. Grab you. Drag it over here. So should be somewhere around the top. Refresh on this one. Hey, James. You banned all his accounts and stream today? What? What happened? Hopefully this converts in Pavre. I would really prefer this to convert in Pavre because I think it would be much nicer in Pavre. This will also serve as the whatchamacallit for this video, the thumbnail for this video. Oh, it didn't render. It's probably the 5.7, something in the 5.7 because the G36 is rendered before. Damn. Hopefully it renders in blue render. Hopefully, please. All right, it seems to be doing that. So yeah, I need to check what time I go to work tomorrow because I have no idea. All right, just scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Monday the 7th. Today's the 7th. 10:15. Ugh. If I go in at 10:15, I gotta be up at 9:45. So 8 hours and 5 minutes, that's about the 7-hour goal that I'm working towards. It takes me a little while to fall asleep. Why is there a random spider web that was just attached to me? It takes me about an hour to fall asleep, sometimes more, sometimes 2, depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes you just end up watching YouTube for a little bit, and then you get like a crazy idea that you have to do, right? You ever have that moment where you're just like watching something on YouTube, and then out of nowhere you're just like, fuck, I really want to do that? Yeah, that happens sometimes. Once this image is done rendering, I'll throw it over into the LVD file and then drag it over this screen so you guys can take a look at what it looks like all rendered up, because it's going to look absolutely fantastic from the looks of it, even with blue render. What should I say? There's also another project that I began working on today that I also want to take a look at in tandem with something else that I kind of went back to because I stopped working on for a while, and now I've thought about it and I need to finish working on it. I'm going to put my key out of my pocket because I don't want to sleep with my key in my pocket. It's actually already bent ever so slightly because of picnic table. So my YouTube marathon as of right now is watching a bunch of Jing videos. Jing is probably the best YouTuber that I can think of for reviewing Lego videos, but he's like one of the very few that I ever watch who reviews Legos products. I like him primarily because he's probably the most transparent person that I know. Like, he just got the Ninjago movie box, and he won't review a single item within it because he doesn't want to review anything that has been given to him, because he doesn't feel as if that's appropriate because it's been given to him, and he feels as if there might be, even though, you know how companies say there's like, oh, there's no strings attached, review it as you please. You know what, they're trying to give you free stuff so that you give it a good review and people go out and buy it, basically. So, yeah. Hey, Jim. It's just kind of... No, see, I knew I should have gone, man. I love Jing. He's like... The positivity that he creates in the community is everything that I want the community to be. Because I don't think I have ever seen a hateful or spiteful comment anywhere on any of his videos at all. That's probably because he goes through and he deletes... Yes, Jing. It's probably because he goes through and he deletes them. But I think he's one of those people that you can look up to and you'd be like, dang, I really want to be as genuine and down to earth as that guy, right? It's also that guy in the form of... He goes out and buys every Lego set, sometimes multiples of every Lego set, so that he can review them. Like the 3-in-1 sets, he'll buy 3 of them so he can have all 3 built at the same time. So he can like display them beside one another and be like, well, I think that this one is a little bit more cooler in this form because you can do this with it, whereas this one's not the same as that, and things like that. And there's always that guy who I like to look up to because, you know, my wallet's not the biggest wallet at all because I actually don't have that big of a wallet, but his seems almost infinite because almost every week he's coming out with more Bricklink orders, more Lego sets, things that he's bought, and you know, that's thousands upon thousands of dollars a month. His city is probably the one and only Lego city that I like. And the reason I like his Lego city is because he's working towards a goal of everything being in his city 100% custom, right? So for those of you who don't know, there's this big video game YouTuber named LevelCap, whose brother is actually really big into Lego, who opened up a channel called Brickvault. They're also working on a city, and I follow Brickvault because the community news is actually good. And their city is nowhere near as good as Jing's because I feel as if you're really skimping on quality when everything in your city is just Lego sets, right? Once you start getting into custom building and how you can use different parts and different colors and you can really make things diverse, that's when I get more impressed, and that's something that I really like about Jing. So it has been really solid growth. He's got a fantastic niche at pretty much everything he does. He does his reviews. Once his reviews are done, he'll start work on custom models for his city or anything else that he's doing. Brickville is interesting, people. I prefer the English-speaking one more than I do obviously the non-English speaking one, the one with the thick accent. The reason for this is primarily along the lines of it's distracting for someone who speaks English for someone else to have an accent. I've worked past it because I've gotten up a tolerance. But sometimes when you're doing top 10 videos on like top 10 coolest Lego creations for the week, sometimes you look at models and you go, yeah, seen it before. Because it's all based on opinion, and I shy away from that style of video. But the news videos are my primary thing that I want with them. I really like being able to come through and be like, okay, well, this is what happened in the week today. This set was released. Amazon has this deal going on. Lego Ideas just announced that this set is good. Jack is LevelCap's brother. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. For some reason, I couldn't remember that. Where's the drag down button? So this is what this is going to look like. This is going to be the thumbnail for this image, but this is the G36. It looks absolutely stunning. And then this is Bakker's FN57, right beside one another. Hopefully scaled decently well to one another. I think the G36 might be that, just slightly bigger. So that would be a good representation, and I don't think that's the best of representations for the Lego community, right? Because if Jing can be so successful doing pretty much only 2 styles of video, well, 3 styles. He does unboxing videos of the parts that he gets in, or the sets that he gets in. He does the reviews, and time-lapse is not even like full time-lapses, so he doesn't do them for every set. He does only like a select few. And then he does his custom MOCs in a city. And he's successful enough where he's doing something right. Either he has a full-time job on the side, which I doubt he does because that's a lot of work to keep editing, building, and doing everything that he's doing. Or his wife is extremely rich. Like somewhere he's getting a lot of money, right? Because this is a very expensive hobby, and he's doing very well by himself. So I think these channels could get by without doing top 10 videos, and I just don't. Yeah, I don't appreciate watering down content with top 10 videos as much as trying to push out better videos that could be more stimulating and good. So I really like Jing Bricks. I also appreciate JK Brickworks. I know that you met JK Brickworks. We talked about that for a little bit in chat. I appreciate JK Brickworks because he kind of does something opposite that Jing does. Jing, I don't want to say his builds are basic, but his builds are more easy to comprehend. Like you see something that he's building and you're like, okay, well that's a building that you're using for laser tag and a music store. And then you see something that JK Brickworks does, and what you're seeing is a book that's closed and folded, and he opens it up, and it's all made out of Lego, and then it pops up automatically. Or you turn a crank, and part of this person's head comes out, and then all of a sudden a light comes up and it turns on, and then a fan's moving or something like that, right? JK Brickworks has this nice aesthetic where he has something really nice that you can put down on a table, and then if you just add just this little bit of mechanical motion that works in some strange way, something amazing happens because of it. And like it's not even difficult mechanics to understand, because when he starts breaking it down, you're like, wow, that's really simple. It just becomes more complicated. I don't know, CB bricks. It's about 150. I don't particularly want to do anything. I want to play at least like one more match of Rainbow Six Siege before the night. I was playing a little bit while my girlfriend was over here, and I wasn't doing too good at all. I was really not doing too well. Just a little bit of everything was going wrong. Like one match, it was because my teammates were bad. Another match, it was I was watching one entrance, and then out of nowhere, someone who was outside in the sun. So like something that really bothers me about Rainbow Six Siege is that you'll be inside, and then a window will suddenly break out, and you'll be looking at it. But when you're looking at it, you're looking at like just a straight white light, because the exposure and things like that is really bad for Rainbow Six Siege. I'm glad that Operation Health is going to bring in changes to that form of system where the exposure and different things like that is lessened in game, because oh my gosh, it is so annoying that a window gets broken open and then you're kind of like, you're watching the window, you're around the corner watching. It'll be easier if I have it on. You're around the corner, you're tilted out watching like so, and there's a wall here, but you're staring straight into a white light, and then out of nowhere, boom, you get headshotted and you drop dead instantly. So it just, oh, I hate that. The person that I watch for Star Wars things, I could name two. First Order Lego MOCs, I really like him. He works more or less within base plates in terms of scale, but they're fairly detailed builds. The other person that I watch for Star Wars things is Solid Bricks Studios. I don't know how I feel about Solid Bricks as much as what I used to. I think that primarily comes down to there could be more, right? Is that a good way of saying it? Scarif, I really didn't like Scarif. I've watched Rogue One. We could talk more about Rogue One in a different stream, because I have a lot of bad opinions about Rogue One. That is not a good movie. But Scarif, the one that David did, I just don't like Scarif. It was too bland, too simple. Like, you know how many really cool locations were within, see you later, Jim, Rogue One that you could have done? Like, the planet with the lava on it, that I don't even, this is something that bothered me about the movie. they like gave us the name of Scarif for the planet, and then they showed us the lava planet that was really cool looking. I think it might have been Solist, but they didn't give the name, and I was like, all right, make up your mind. Like, either you introduce every location that we go to with the title card, or you don't introduce any location at all, and we have to determine what planet that was. So I'm going to assume that it was Solist. But Solus is like a really cool planet. There's a chance to build with parts that you don't generally get to build with before, right? Because Scarif is just like another version of Kashyyyk. It's just a lot more water, and then like just really shallow water with kind of archipelagos, if that's the word for the islands. Yeah. Chris Productions, if I'm familiar with the suggestions that I have. Oh, on Mustafar. Alright, gotcha. Was the guy who did the full like tower, right? Because I remember watching the what's it called? Beyond the Brick video where they did like the full tour of one of the conventions, and I remember seeing Scarif on like a wide display, and there was like a tower, and then like all the different landing pads and things like that. And that type of stuff I can really appreciate. That's on a large scale, thousands of dollars worth of Lego. Multiple people worked on it, so you have, excuse me, I keep burping a little bit. You have just multiple perspectives on the Lego system and how bricks could be used and how different vehicles interact with one another. Things like that I can appreciate a lot more. I figured it was Mustafar, and then I thought back to Battlefront, the EA version, and it just kind of, it hit me like Solus. I remember Solus was a big deal because, yeah. I know Luke because Luke actually commented on one of my videos about the gunships. And then I want to say I ended up using this ATRT for one of my ATRT dropships. So I remember you getting mentioned in that video, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit because I heard your name, and I didn't expect you to be there. So it was a little strange. I remember Chris because I remember seeing the big tower, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. Imagine the amount of planning that had to go into this because, right, like imagine having a big tower from floor to ceiling and then realizing that you screwed up on one minor detail at the very bottom of the tower, right? There's a couple of different ways that you can plan around this, but if you come rushing into the project, you might not think about that, right? So the way that I would deal with it is that you would have main support columns, but you would have easy removable floors as opposed to not being able to remove anything, right? So imagine coming into it with a standard idea, like you just place bricks up on top of one another all the way up to the top, and then you realize that you screwed up at the very bottom and it's too heavy to lift so you could go from the bottom, so you have to take the whole top of it off, and chances are when you do that you're going to probably break all of that just to remove one small thing at the very bottom. So thinking about building something so huge and going forward and committing with it is a lot more impressive to me than just kind of, hey guys, I built the like 10 gray base plate by 10 gray plate thing of Scarif. Yeah, and most of it's water. And we had to stack this water on top of one another. Oh, dang. That's also, moving things to conventions is a lot more impressive because you have to design it around moving it to the convention, right? It's not as simple as putting it together and then moving it to the convention. because you can't move a giant 7-foot tower to a convention without something going wrong. So you have to break it up into parts. Those parts can break in transport, things like that. So that I find a lot more impressiveness in what Chris was able to accomplish with everyone else who was in Rebel Lug. Something else that bothers me is like Kashyyyk was this big, ambitious model, and I liked Kashyyyk from David because I started at the very beginning of that series, and we went all the way through it up to like the very end, and then, dang, they had to. He finished it. You saw like the finale video, and then gone basically, and now we moved on to another MOC, but the next MOC is almost the same thing as Kashyyyk. I want to see something different, unique. There are all these really awesome locations in Star Wars that not everyone gets to see because not everyone is exposed to the same information that I might be exposed to, right? So this is something that I've wanted to see for a while now, and actually I saw this post a while ago, but this person is working on a minifig scale Lego Ghost from the Star Wars show Rebels, which I find super, super impressive, right? So this is the Lego model, and then this is the minifig scale. I would love to see more of this actually happen, right? So like I'm going to say a lot here, right? A minifig scale 10th of 4 on top of a minifig scale Star Destroyer or the Super Star Destroyer, Darth Vader's Star Destroyer, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, everything. Like, the more minifig scale things we did, the more impressive. Because look how smooth this surface looks. These angles that come all together, the escape pod looking things, the turret up here, the front cockpit, all this looks really smooth. Theed is not the planet. Theed is the city. The actual planet is Naboo. Got you on that one. I knew that one. And that's not even like a new place, right? Because Battlefront 2, I believe Battlefront 2 had one. I know Battlefront 1 actually had 2 maps that took place on Naboo. Battlefront 1, there was the plains where the Gungans were fighting that you could play as a location. That was a pretty fun map because both sides had a starship plus tanks and it was wide open. So there'd be snipers everywhere, but you couldn't like stay in one spot too long with a sniper rifle or you would get blown apart by a starship. And then there was also the palace as well for Battlefront 1. I remember that map fondly. I want to see things that people haven't. Minifig scale ships is what I want to see, right? And that's kind of another reason that I'm following Brickworks because they're working on a Tantive 4 minifig scale, but as far as I'm concerned, they've done literally just that front section and then haven't even touched it since everything's gone on. Like, I don't know when they're going to get back to it, to be completely honest. I want to see more of the minifig scale Star Wars ships. If you can do minifig scale Star Wars ships and then put it in just even a small scene, right? It doesn't even have to be gigantic. It doesn't have to be a full room. It doesn't have to be a full city. Just like take this ghost and put it on a desert scene and then have them doing business with the pirates, Hondo and his pirate gang, to get weapons or something like that. Just that scene would be so much better with a minifig sized ghost. Not this, right? This is something that we get if we want to say, hey, I have the Lego Ghost. Whereas this is what we really want to build because we are true LEGO fans of the Star Wars series and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go off. I'm going to play one more match of Siege, and then I'm off to bed. And then this video will be uploaded at basically just a straight hour long, which is pretty awesome. So I'll see you guys later in another YouTube video. I will some other time. I actually streamed on Sunday. It was more like Monday morning, but hey, time is relative. Some people it's still Sunday, other people it's Monday. You know how it is. I'll see you guys later in another YouTube video. Remember to come rate and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. Click the bell for the notifications whenever I live stream or upload a new video. On top of that, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for social media posts and things like that. I'm probably going to go post the image that I just rendered. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll start that process now. On top of all of that, check me out at my website at bluejaythemeister.weebly.com. It's fantastic. Ooh, no! Nick just released images of his M8A1 assault rifle from Black Ops 2. Oh my gosh. It looks so good. Dude. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. If you guys haven't seen this, check it out. Because holy shit. It looks so good. I want one. Man, if you only sold his sets. Yeah. bluejaythemeister.weebly.com. I try to upload as many things to that website as I can. I still need to come through and update things just a little bit. Give me a little bit of time, and then we'll be on top of that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment, rate, and subscribe for more videos similar to this one.